Oh my god, hey! Welcome back to my stagey YouTube channel. If you are seeing my face for the first time, my name is Mickey Joe and I am obsessed with all things theatre, even when I hate it. You know what? Hate is a strong word. Let's go all the way back and work out where we are right now with Cinderella. The first time I talked about Cinderella on YouTube, I said I wasn't really that excited about it because of various things to do with the casting, to do with the music that I had heard. Then slightly later I made another video about it where I was hypothesizing about the casting. Then I reacted to the cast recording and I was like, okay. Then I actually got invited to go and see the show and I was like, okay. And I said in that video that while I still broadly enjoyed the show, I gave it a 3-star review, I really liked the performances, I had a lot of different issues with it that were too numerous for me to summarize in that one video. So I then made another video. This video was called Everything That Is Wrong with Lloyd Webber's Cinderella, and I listed 10 of the issues that I had with the show. This then accidentally got 40,000 views, and weekly I have people dropping into my comment section to tell me that I know nothing about musical theatre, that my opinions are incorrect, and I have completely misunderstood the very nuanced, very intricate, very detailed, excellent plot of this show. So somehow, at some point, I feel like I became the public face of disliking Lloyd Webber's Cinderella. So people will be surprised to learn that I still listen to the cast recording occasionally and that I bought tickets to go and see the show again the other day. I did this for 3 reasons. Number 1, I was desperate to see Lauren Byrne as first cover Cinderella, and this was the last confirmed date that she was able to announce in advance. Number 2, when I went for my original press booking, I was in the dress circle and I didn't get to ride the fun spinning seats. Spoiler alert, the stalls spin. It's novel. It's fine. And reason number 3, the show had closed for a prolonged period over Christmas and had reopened allegedly with some changes, and I was very intrigued to see what those were. So, having seen the show yesterday, I'm going to be telling you today all about the changes that have been made to Lloyd Webber's Cinderella. So first up, I just want to explain briefly to you why changes were made. And this may not be the official reason that's being given, but I'm just going to tell you this story and you can decide for yourselves. So when Cinderella originally opened in London, the UK press gave it rapturously good reviews. By no stretch of the imagination would I ever consider this a 5-star show, and I was surprised that the historically very critical people, the likes of Quentin Letts, this is a man who hates everything, and he gave a very rare 5-star rating to, of all things, Cinderella, which I found puzzling. Subsequently, a critic from America came over for the New York Post and reviewed the show, and wrote less than favourable things. His name was Johnny Olakinski, and this review was upsetting to Lord Lloyd Webber because he had aspirations for the show to go to Broadway, and so the first thing written about it in a big New York paper, where the reviews matter more, I will say, on Broadway than they do in the West End. The first thing written about it was quite disparaging to the source material, not to the cast, and so Lloyd Webber was so upset with this, he allegedly called the cast backstage from his holiday in Mallorca and lambasted them for being terrible. This was so harsh and so unfair that the show went up half an hour late because several of the cast members allegedly threatened to walk from the production. Around that same time, numerous cast members, including Carrie Hope Fletcher and other members of the principal cast, tweeted statements of vague solidarity and support for each other. Now, this was all reported by the Daily Mail, so some people take this with a pinch of salt. However, I had heard about this before it was reported from a friend of a friend, and I had thought perhaps that might be true, whatever. When so many of the details of the story were then corroborated by that newspaper source, it's very difficult not to believe it. So in response to that negative review, Lloyd Webber did what he'd done a few years ago with Love Never Dies. He closed the production so that he could make some changes. Now, the changes to Love Never Dies, there were some structural things, some music things, a lot of cosmetic changes. You know, in version 1.0, the Phantom wore a white shirt. In version 2.0, he wore a black shirt. And I would describe the changes made to Cinderella similarly. They are cosmetic, they are superficial, and they broadly don't make any kind of a difference to the show. I will start by saying no songs have been cut in their entirety, no songs have been added in their entirety. A lot has been done to enhance the theatre-going experience, both for the people in the room, but really more for what you're going to see on on social media. They have added social media photo points. They have changed the aesthetic of all of their marketing materials to make it softer and more romantic, more light blues and less garish 80s neon testicle dresses. Come see Cinderella, we have pastels. So there's this very floral photo op point that you can queue for at the Gillian Lynne Theatre now. There's also a pre-show announcement where Andrew Lloyd Webber personally specifies that you are not to film or take pictures during the show, but that he would love it if you would film the curtain call. Because they want what Six has. They want something very marketable that gets shared a lot online that will make audiences want to come and see this show. The Mega Six is free advertising for Six. Cinderella wants to have that, even though their curtain call is not nearly as exciting. But to that end, one of the changes they have made to the show is the bows are completely different. The bows are now very choreographed. Sebastian does an entire dance thing, and it's just slightly more dynamic because they know the audiences are going to film that, and they just desperately want to be on TikTok. Like, I cannot tell you how badly Cinderella want to be on TikTok. Here are the rest of the changes that I noticed in the show, and this may not be an exhaustive list. From the beginning, I noticed some other changes in the opening number. So there's a part on the cast recording that Sarah Brightman sang, where she sang to this little bird. She's like, wishing on her, wishing well. And then the bird bites her and she like kills it. It's very Princess Fiona from Shrek Morning Person-esque. That has been put back into the show in the opening number. A member of the female ensemble sings to this little bird that's on her finger and then it bites her, so she kills it. Ovs. It takes a couple seconds and it's not an unwelcome change. It's just another way of injecting a little bit more humour into the opening number. I do still think the opening number falls quite flat, and I would like it to have more oomph. Its pacing is a little bit better, because what they've done is every time you hear the section that goes, once we had the hottest prince of all, then he disappeared, he went AWOL. They have changed that entire section so there are no gaps now. So they will sing instead, once we had the hottest prince of all, then he disappeared, he went AWOL. Now his nerdy brother something else, how I really wish he had a chin. That's it. Okay, so they sing the whole thing through with no gaps, and every time that melody comes back, they do it the same way. One of the things that Johnny Olakinski, the New York Post critic, had written in his review was bibbidi bobbidi cut 10 minutes off the show. Or I think he said 20 minutes, in fact. And that is essentially what they have done. With little changes like that and little cuts and little tweaks, they have made the show, I would say, at least 10 to 15 minutes shorter. It's just tighter and it flows better. And this was a good decision. The show did not need to be as long as it was. Something else interesting that's been changed in the opening number, when the statue is revealed, it has had a penis painted on it, which I think is what was originally planned, because that's what the cast recording alludes to. But then by the time that I had seen the first preview, I can't remember what it was. It was like she'd put a bra on him or like made him look like a woman. And again, it was just kind of trying to get at this feminist angle that's never really explored. So they've gone back to the old drawing board, by which I mean penis. Can I say penis on YouTube? Some other bits of dialogue have been trimmed. I'd say there were a lot more bits where the hunky court guys spoke before, and they had like a moment consoling each other because they were so sad that Prince Charming was gone. And they had more of a moment of talking to Sebastian once the girls in town suddenly find him attractive, and him like telling him how he should walk and stuff. Those have been trimmed right down. You really don't hear that much from those guys, especially after the man's man scene. A lot of their dialogue has been scrapped. Carrying on through the first act, Cinderella and Sebastian have some slightly modified interactions with each other, very minor tweaks. So after she's been a little bit annoyed by him the first time and he appears in the town square and all of the girls are pretending to fawn over him, she previously said to him, "Hi Sebastian." She now does a whole faux "Your Majesty" type thing. And it just sort of eases the tension between them a little bit more. It's more light-hearted, which is good because they have to like each other before it all goes awry. Otherwise, you never buy into this relationship. Like, it's better for her not to be completely passive-aggressive from the off. It's slightly subdued. Side note, I loved the way that Lauren Byrne played this, her sarcasm, her sass, as well as, of course, her exceptional vocals. I really loved her as Cinderella, just as much as I loved Carrie. There were no other obvious changes to the script or the score that I noticed in the first act, but it's possible little bits have been trimmed here and there quite inconspicuously. I do still think that the reveal of Cinderella in the godmother scene at the end of Act 1 is just very anticlimactic. She just walks forwards and there's no music underneath it, and I would so prefer if at least like her hair were different, or we just sort of like we didn't see the dress or something. I want her entrance in the ball to be a moment where you see her for the first time and there would be applause. There was no applause when she entered in the ball because we'd seen it already. I really wish we saw her arrive at the same time that everyone else saw her arrive. So going into that second act, a couple of little changes that I noticed. When Sebastian does the strange dance for your brother thing, at Charming's wedding, his dance is very different. It's a lot more sort of contemporary and like body rollish. And is it a little bit TikTok-y? I don't know. It did cross my mind at that moment. Are they trying to make it more of a contemporary TikTok dance kind of a vibe? But that choreography has definitely been tweaked. It's very akin to what you see him do in The Bows. After the wedding, when Cinderella sings her entire reprise of everything that she's sung in the show, when she sings I Know I Have a Heart into Far Too Late into Bad Cinderella reprise, she now doesn't do the I Know I Have a Heart part. It is just a little bit of Far Too Late into the Bad Cinderella reprise, and that has been trimmed down considerably, which is good because it did seem obnoxious and weird that she would reprise all of her songs. In terms of where she is emotionally at that point, she's still at the same level of angst she was in when she sang Far Too Late before the wedding, and so I think it's better that she goes back to that song. That makes more sense, and that's the emotion she's feeling at that exact moment. Is she's got there, she's hearing the bells, she's too late. That's the prevailing thought, rather than going back to the stress and the upset of the ball the night before. There is a line that she said to him right at the end of the show, and I can't remember exactly what it was. It's something to do with something being epically weird or super weird, just another sort of funny barb bit of banter that she tossed at him, and that is gone, but I can't remember exactly what the line was before. If you remember, please let me know down in the comment section. The only other change I had noticed in the show was some of the wigs are different. The Queen has a different wig during the I Know You scene, and Adele has a different wig when we first meet her. It's curlier, it's much nicer than the first wig that she had. To be fair, she has a little pink bun on the top and curls. Nothing that is changing the big parts of the story. And that's kind of still my issue. I will say I was able to enjoy the show more this time because I didn't have such aspirations for it. I knew what it was going to be. Everyone was fantastic. But in terms of my biggest gripes about the show, they are still the same. That's not to say it's not entertaining. I get why people love this show. I get why people resonate with these characters. People are absolutely welcome to go and see Cinderella and to love Cinderella, and I will root for its success as a new British musical, and I will root for everyone in this cast because they are brilliantly talented. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that let you know a little bit more about some of the small changes that have been made to Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cinderella. If you have seen the show before or since the changes, or you're planning to see it soon, let me know down in the comments section. If you would like to support me as a stagey content creator, head over to patreon.com/MickeyJoTheatre, where for a variety of membership options, you can gain access to all sorts of behind the scenes content, including exclusive photos, information, and exclusive Patreon only videos. I hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have a stagey day.
For 10 more seconds, I'm Mickey Jo Theatre. Oh my god, hey, thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!